Good morning students. Today I am going to explain you the next lesson, the All American Slurps. This is written by Smt.L.B.Joshi. Now all as an Indian, as a foreigner, we all have a different cultures. Even our table manners are different. Yes, our food habits are different. But still, when we have meet with our new friends, those who are from a foreign lands, or when we go to a foreign lands, we try or they try to adjust us. So this is a lesson about American people. Okay, so let us see what type of a culture they have. People in different places have a different lifestyle and eating habit. Ignorance of the difference may sometimes lead to a cultural shock. Read this story and see how the narrator feels towards her own culture, that of the Western even over the tribal matters such as a table manner. The first day of our family was invited out to dinner in America. We disgraced ourselves. That means we brought a shame on our shelf. Now they were feeling shame. Why? Because they were from the other country. While eating curry. Curry is a type of a vegetable, children, which has an edible stalk. We had immigrated. Immigrated means move from one place to another to this country from China. So from where the narrator has been moved out, they had migrated from China. Where? In America. And during our early days here, we had hard time with American table manners. In China, we never ate curry raw or any other kind of vegetable raw. We always has to disinfect it. Disinfect it means for children, clean up the vegetable in boiling water first. When we were present with our first release tray, the raw curry caught up unprepared. So what is the culture of a China? Everything what they eat, they boil it up in a water. They clean it and boil it up in a water. But here the starter, which was been presented by the American family to the narrator or to the author, was completely raw. Okay, was completely raw. So they were not mindly prepared to eat such type of a food. We had been invited to dinner by our neighbors, the Gleasons. So what was the name of a family? The name of a family was Gleasons. After arriving at the house, we shook hands with our host and packed ourselves into a sofa. Pack means they made themselves comfortable in a sofa. As our family of four sat stiffly in a row, my younger brother and I stole glance at our parents for a clue as to what to do next. Mrs. Gleason offered the release tray to mother. The tray looked pretty with its tiny red radish, curly stick of carrot and long slender stalk of pell, green clergy. So what the Mrs. Gleason has offered? Mr. Gleason has offered the radish, teeny radish, curry and stick of carrot. So all the vegetables which was been used to make this starter were completely been raw. Do try some of the curry, Miss Lynn. She said it is from a local farmer and is sweet. Mother picked up one of the green stalk and father followed suit. Follow suit means follow the same example, did the same thing. Then I picked up a stalk and my brother did too. So there we sat, each with a stalk of clergy in our right hand. So in a picture you can see now they are having a clergy, the parts of the vegetables. Mrs. Gleason kept smiling. Would you like to try some of the dip? Mrs. Lynn, it's my own recipe. Dip means what, children? Now when you eat veg cutlets, okay, when you eat some other things like samosa and all that, so we dip it in a tomato sauce, right? So similarly the sauce was being made by Mrs. Lynn, okay, for this curry. Sour cream and onion flakes with a dash of Tabasco sauce. So what were the ingredients? The ingredients were a sour cream and the onion flakes, okay. And what is the name of the sauce? Tabasco sauce. Most Chinese don't care of dairy product, and in those days I wasn't ready to drink fresh milk. Sour cream sounded perfectly revolting. Revolting means to go against or disguise. Now most of us don't like to eat the dairy product like milk, paneer or cream. So similar thing was happening with the author. Our family shook our head in a unison, that means not too ready. Mrs. Gleason went off with the release tray to the other guests, and we carefully watched to see what they did. Everyone seemed to eat the raw vegetable quite happily. Mother took the bite of her curry. Crunch, it is not bad, she whispered. Father took a bite of his curry. Crunch, yes, it is good, he said, looking surprised. I took a bite and then my brother. Crunch, crunch. It was more than good. It was delicious. Raw curry had a slight sparkle, a zingy taste. A zingy taste means, student, a sharp taste like the lemon that you don't get in a cooked curry. When Mrs. Gleason came around with the release tray, we each took another stalk of curry, except my brother. He took two. There was only one problem. Long string ran through the length of the stalk, and they got caught in my teeth. When I helped my mother in the kitchen, I always pull the string out before slicing curry. I pulled the string out of my stalk. Zip, zip, zip. My brother followed suit. Zip, zip, zip. To my left, my parents were taking care of their own stalk. Zip, zip, zip. Suddenly, I realized there was a dead silence, except for our zipping. Looking up, I saw that eyes of everyone in the room were on our family. So all started eating the stalk, okay, making a sound, zip, zip, zip. So entire guest was looking upon the family. Mr. and Mrs. Gleason, their daughter Meg, who was my friend, and their neighbors, the Baddles, they all staring at us. We busily pulled the string of our curry. That wasn't the end of it. Mrs. Gleason announced that dinner was served and invited us to the dining table. It was lavish. Lavish means having a lots of things, generous, covered with a platter of food. But we could not see any chair around the table. So as the starter was served, it was over. Now it was the time to have a dinner. So what the Mrs. Gleason did, he has announced the dinner, and table was arranged with a lots of varieties of food, all the lavish food. But the thing was that the chair was not there. They could not find any chair around the table. So we helpfully carried out some dining chair and sat down. All the other guests just stood there. Mrs. Gleason bent down and whispered to us, "This is a buffet dinner. You help yourself to some food and eat it in the living room." So what the Mrs. Gleason said, now children, you all are very aware of the buffet system, because nowadays it is also became a culture in our India. Okay, the food is been arranged on the table and we have to take the food on a plates, and where mainly the food is being utilized or the person eat the food by standing. The chairs are not been provided. That is called a buffet system. Our family bettered back to the sofa as if chased by the enemy soldier. For the rest of the evening, too mortified to go back to the dining table, I nursed a bit of potato salad on my plate. The next day, Meg and I got on the school bus together. I wasn't sure how she would feel about me after the spectacles. Spectacles means, student, usually events that attract the family or that attract the member or the other guest. Met at the party, but she was just the same as usual, and the only reference she made to the party was, "Thanks for coming last night. Hope you and your folks got enough to eat. You certainly did not take very much. Mom never tries to figure out how much food to prepare. She just put everything on the table and hope for the best." I I began to relax. The Gleason dinner party wasn't so different from the Chinese meal after all. My mother also put everything on the table and hoped for the best. So Meg has made relaxed to both the friends were relaxed because somewhere the cultures were same. The things were put in the table for the guests and they tried to be the best. Meg was the first friend I had made after we came to America. I eventually got acquainted with a few other kids in school, but Meg was still the only real friend I had. The day came when my parents announced that they want to give a dinner party. We had invited Chinese friends to eat with us before, but this dinner was going to be different. In addition, we are going to invite the Gleasons. I can hardly wait to have a dinner at our house. Meg said to me, I just love Chinese food. So now the dinner was been arranged by the author itself. Previously also they had arranged the dinner, but that was for the Chinese people, for their relatives. But this dinner was going to be a different because first time they are going to invite a American family. Okay, and Meg was very curious about the Chinese food. That was a relief. Mother was a good cook, but I wasn't sure if people would eat sour cream would eat a soya sauce. Mother decided not to take a chance. Since we had Western guests, she set the table with a large dinner plate, which we never use in Chinese meal. In fact, we didn't use individual plate at all, but picked up the food from the platter in the middle of the table and brought it directly to our rice bowl. Now, you might have seen in a Discovery Channel, children. The Chinese, they never eat the food on a plates. Mainly their culture is to have their food on the bowl. Okay, they take the food and eat it directly on the rice bowl. But as the American family is going to be in a party, so what they had did, they had arranged the plates. Following the practice of Chinese and American restaurant, mother also placed large serving spoon on the platter. The dinner started well. Mrs. Gleason exclaimed at the beautiful arranged dish of food. At first, I was too busy enjoying my food to notice how the guests were doing. But soon I remember my duties. Sometimes guests were too polite to help themselves and you had to serve them with more food. Yes, sometimes you might have gone to any of the functions or there may be function in your house. Okay, so what the guests do, some of the guests are very polite. They take a few food to eat. So that time it is our duty, student, to look after the guest so that they can eat well. The similar things was being done by the author. I glanced at Meg to see if she needed more food and my eyes nearly popped out at the sight of her plate. It was filled with food. She had been taking food from a second dish before she finished eating her helping from the first. So what the author found, that Meg dish was completely been filled. That means it was completely been full of food. Now before finishing the first platter, she was taking the food from the second platter. Horrified, I turned to look at Mr. Gleason. He was chasing a pea around his place. Several times he got into the edge, but when he tried to pick it up with his chopstick. Now mainly children, you might have seen the Chinese people, they eat their food with the help of the chopsticks. Yes, they avoid to use the spoons. But in American culture, the American people or the Indian people, we are not very familiar with the chopsticks. We mainly use a spoon. So it was very hard for the Mr. Gleason, Mr. and Mrs. Gleason to take the food from the dish. He rolled back toward the center of the plate again. Finally, he put down his chopsticks and picked up the pea with his finger. He really did, a grown man. All of us, our family and the Chinese guests, stopped eating to watch the activities of the Gleason. I wanted to giggle. Giggle means to laugh. Then I caught my mother's eye on me. She frowned and shook her head slightly. And I understood the message. The Gleason were not used to Chinese way and they were just chopping the beast. They could. For some reason I thought of clergy string. When the main course were finished, mother brought out a platter of fruit. I hope you weren't accepting sweet dessert, she said. Since the Chinese do not eat dessert, I didn't think to prepare any. So what the mother said, as they have finished the main food, so what the mother did? She has brought out the platter of food. Why? Because the Chinese people don't like to eat the sweet dessert after a main course of food. Oh, I couldn't possible eat dessert, cried Mrs. Gleason. I am simply stuffed. Meg had different idea. When the table was clear, she announced that she and I were going for a walk. I don't know about you, but I feel like dessert. She told me when we were outside, come on, there's Dairy Queen down the street. I could see a big chocolate milkshake. Although I didn't really want anything more to eat, I insist on paying for the milkshake. After all, I was still host. Meg got her large chocolate milkshake and I had a small one. Eventually, she was finishing her while I was only half done. Toward the end, she pulled hard on her straws and went slop slop. Yes, when you take the thing from the straw, sometimes you make a sound. The similar sound was being made by the Meg. Do you always slurp when you eat a milkshake? Slurp means drink something with a loud sticking voice. I asked before I could stop myself. Meg grinned. Sure, all American slurps. Okay, children, you might have understood the lesson. Now let us see the grammar. So today is the revision of the tense, that is the simple and the continuous tense. You have already learned about the simple present and simple past tense and the present continue and a past continue tense. Let us revise this tense once more. So, simple present tense express now of an action or situation. The continuous tense express a continuous or ongoing action that is currently happening. Simple past tense express an action or situation that began and end in the past. The continuous tense express a continuous or ongoing action that was happening at a particular time. Now, underline the verb and identify their tense. Underline the word and identify their tense. She was painting with concentration when the ball rang. So, was painting is a past continuous tense. Rang is a past tense. Okay. Are you still watching the television? Still watching is a present continuous tense. Grandpa went out to buy some soda but bought water instead. So went and bought are the past tense. It was while they were heading to the bench that the accident occurred. Were heading were the past continuous tense and occur is the past tense. The sun rises in the east and set in the west. So both are the past tense. So children, you might have understood the grammar part and as well as the lesson. So have a good day, be safe, and we will meet on a next lecture. Bye.